Conline is brought to you by the following sponsors. OasisComics.com, the home for J. Lee exclusive variants. ScottsCollectibles.co.uk, home for Alan Qua, Kel New, and many of the industry's top creators. ClanMcDonaldComics.com, the official CBCS facilitator for Comic Conline. AlphaOmegaCertification.com, the official CGC facilitator of Comic Conline. ArtGermCollectibles.com, the only place to find exclusives for Artgerm, DCWJ, Kunkka, and Ejikure. JJ'sComicArt.com, the home for all things Doug Mankey and some amazing original art deals.
And we are back.
We're back.
Representing both brands.
I'm just doing the one right now.
No, you are. You got both.
Oh, yeah. I screwed that. I'm just used to wearing the saddle all the time that I forget.
Speaking of brands,
this
brand, Comic Conline, has an exclusive. Our first solely self-produced exclusive.
Yes.
The Recount #1.
Get it now while it's hot.
That's Alan Qua on the cover.
Alan Qua. And if you
he's a busy man. He's hard to get for a cover.
And you are entered to win the original art if you purchase a copy. That will be sent to you if you're the winner.
11x17 ink wash by the master of ink wash.
It's gorgeous.
It is. It really is. I wish I could. I kind of just want to pretend nobody won and keep it, but you know
we're not doing that because
no.
We love the fans. We also have masks.
We do some really cool ones too. Really effective ones. At least as effective as a mask can be, I suppose. Depending, I don't know how. It's 2-ply, and you can actually put a filter inside it, so you got to give it a third layer to. I don't know how well you breathe after that though.
We got hats.
Your glasses don't fog. Yeah, we got the white hat. We got black hats. We got shirts, cotton, polyester, the dry fit stuff. For those of you that may like to work out, they come in white and black. We got hoodies. I don't know where my hoodie is.
That's all right.
Do you know where your hoodie is?
It's in the box over there.
It's nice though. If you could imagine a hoodie with this on it, that's what it would look like. The Mike Make You. Hand numbered 1 to 200, remarked G.I. Joe 275. It's remarked kind of like as if it was personalized from Baroness. Like if you go to a con and get a celebrity headshot and they sign it, that's what it looks like. Those are $49.99, I believe, and you can get those graded through CGC or CBCS.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna quit, promoting us, and we're gonna promote this guy who deserves it. Phillip Kennedy Johnson.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Not a lot. So, I mean, at least compared to you, anyways. Last
thanks, man.
talked, you couldn't quite even talk about the Captain America yet.
Right.
I don't think. That was a super secret thing. And then you write that one little run, and all of a sudden your career's going like this, and then it just takes like straight up.
Oh well.
I mean, now he's writing Superman Future State.
Yeah, super stoked for this next one, man. Thanks for getting the Captain America plug. That was a really fun one to do.
I knew it would be, man. I mean, it was kind of cool that you got the active military writing.
Yeah.
I know. I think that was the sell. I think they really wanted my take on it. There was a very specific role that they wanted that to play in the whole event, in the Empire event. They wanted to see Cap, like before I was even on board. They knew they wanted Cap to kind of rally all troops on Earth, like from different nations, together to fight the Katati threat together alongside these superpower groups that we all know from the Marvel comics. And they wanted to see my take on that. So it was really cool.
Now,
got to put together a little team of like Howling Commandos kind of, but like modern day soldiers. And it was really cool.
The other book at Marvel that had been announced prior to Captain America, but didn't start to get released until recently due to COVID. And I don't think it's still quite finished yet.
One issue to go.
Yeah. Marvel Zombies Resurrection.
Yeah.
I'm
mad proud of that book. We had released so right around the time when Kirkman like surprise ended Walking Dead, Kirkman, who for those who don't know wrote the original Marvel Zombie series, Marvel wanted to like reboot the whole thing. The series is pretty much finished, and they wanted to just do it again in a very different way, and approached me to do it, which they don't even know how into that I was. I'm a huge horror guy, and but Marvel Zombies was not my usual brand. It was kind of like a campy take on just wanted to see your favorite Marvel Zombies, your favorite Marvel heroes in a zombie context. It was just a romp, you know. And they wanted to see one that was different, and so I gave them a different take, and they let me do it. Lots of emotional stakes, much just a kind of a harsher world, and you see, well, I mean, honestly, more like The Walking Dead, in that you really come to care about the characters, and when one of them dies, it really matters, and you really feel the wins and losses. And I wanted to do something like that. So we put out the Prelude issue last November with the intention of having the Prelude, and then a few months later we would release the miniseries that would follow, like weekly. Then COVID happened, and we were almost done with the entire series when Marvel trimmed like a third of their line to try to keep things moving. And the fact that it was not quite done yet, and the fact that page 1 of the miniseries was New York City in terror, was just timing was unfortunate. So they shelved it for a little while, but now it is coming out. The first 3 issues are out, and got one more issue to come. It's like there's one last one coming out the week of Halloween, and then it's wrapped.
So now, about that time, that was kind of on the tail end of Deceased. Now, did you feel any competition as far as that goes? Did you, did you like the fact that 2, I guess, sort of zombie, series were kind of at the top of something for a little while?
Honestly, I didn't know. I mean, I would have been an idiot not to at least be aware of it. I mean, I knew about Deceased. I really liked it, actually. I mean, I always respected Tom Taylor's work, and now he's a friend. And I'm not going to pretend I didn't know about the book, but I didn't want to. And honestly, I knew there would be comparisons too, because his take on Deceased was actually kind of similar to the take I wanted for Marvel Zombies, where it's a lot of emotional turmoil. It's not just, it's not Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror. It's more like The Walking Dead or like The Road or something. There's a lot more, meat to it. So I did have to be aware enough of it that I didn't, repeating the same beats or anything. I didn't want it to be too similar. I know in some cases people try to avoid, watching or reading the other thing. But I was reading the book already. I was reading it by the time they gave me the call, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't do something, because sometimes you'll inadvertently do a similar thing. So I was, I read up on Deceased and tried not to cover any of the same ground, and just make sure we're doing our own thing, that it progressed and ended very differently. I didn't feel any competition from it, but I was inspired by the work that Tom did on that. I really was a big fan of what he was doing with that, and I love the stuff he's doing on the sequels now.
I want, because that would kind of be a bit of a thing. You read it, and if you have sort of a rough idea layout of what you want to do, and you're reading his, and he hits so close to what you wanted to do, would you then deviate from that, or would you continue on the same path you were doing? Say if that hypothetically happened as a writer. Honestly,
I would. If I had something planned, and then I read issue, the last issue of Deceased, and it was the same damn thing, I would definitely do something else. I mean, unless the entire series, it's all about what was already put out. If it's too late, if I've already locked in, because you're planting seeds in the first issue that pay off at the end. So It's all a matter of, and just the serial nature of comics, the fact that it's always coming out, and it's this train that never stops moving. You have to be aware of what has already been finished. Like if something's already been drawn, you can't go back. Yeah. So it would just be a matter of how much can I change and get away with it without screwing the whole series, without also screwing the series in the way that it's too similar to the other thing. Luckily that did not happen. Like what we had planned with what I wrote out for Marvel Zombies ended up being very, very different from Deceased. Really, the only similarity to Deceased is in the tone of it. The fact that there are very tragic moments and very, very, very serious moments that you didn't get from the original Marvel Zombies. In that regard, it is similar, but it's not as far as the things that happen and things that happen to our characters, the way that we end the whole thing. It's really not that similar at all. And in fact, I was very mindful of making sure that there were also some fun beats, some fun moments in Marvel Zombies, despite the seriousness of it. And it's mostly visual. A character I'm super proud of in it is Nana, who was a Sentinel that Peter Parker has gotten a hold of and reprogrammed as a British nanny. And so she has this, I mean, you can't hear the accent, but in her mannerisms, you can hear the dialect, the way she talks, and is very protective and kind of finger waggy. And, it's just a fun thing. And Forge is in the first issue, and he has all these, I always think Forge is a very underrated character. And so we see him having taken the bodies of mutants who had been respawned and recomposing their parts as part of bioweapons that they can use. So you'll see him with a rifle that has Cyclops, the top half of Cyclops' head stuck to the front of it, that he can use like a laser cannon, and other weapons that you see later. So you get these little things that are just kind of fun to look at, that keep it from being so dour. Because I mean, the subject material is so dark and bleak. I wanted to make sure there was something a little more fun in it, so that people, the book isn't just an emotional beating. It's gonna be something that keeps it a little more fun.
Yeah, I guess like there has to be a bit of a comic relief to anything otherwise, unless your whole goal is the drama, and that's a different fan, I guess, you're pandering to at that point.
Yeah, that was one thing. I did not see a lot of. There wasn't a lot of that in Deceased. Like the tone of that stayed pretty dark the whole time, and I loved it that way. I thought it was really, really great. But for the characters that I wanted to show, like with Peter Parker especially, it's definitely Parker in a different context, and we've never seen Peter Parker in such a dark. I shouldn't say never. There's a bajillion Spider-Man stories, but it's one of the darker contexts we've seen Peter Parker in, and he's not his happy-go-lucky, jokey self, but I did want to have little hints of that. Like he's a fun character by nature. And he's out there with kids, and we have a Flurkin out there, which is always fun. The cat that like goes all alien, and the characters themselves just make it a little bit lighter despite the darkness. I'm really, really proud of that series. I hope people pick it up. It's first 3 issues of the mini are out. They did the numbering a little bit weird. So the prelude that came out last year was Marvel Zombies Resurrection #1, and then when they did the mini series, the first issue of that was also #1. So people have to look out for those, but only 1 issue left, and we leave it in a super crazy place, and I'm really excited for people to read it.
Now, did you left room for you to come back and tinker with it a little bit more, I'm assuming?
Yeah, there's a definitive ending to this. Like there's not a cliffhanger. When the miniseries is done, that story is done with those characters. But there is also a hint of something. Like again, I do a lot of world building, which is kind of how I got this gig. They really wanted to just reimagine the whole thing. And I wanted to, in all my stories, I try to illustrate the fact that it's a much bigger world than we've seen so far and make them want to see more of it. Mm-hmm. And I do that in the last issue for sure. So if the readers want more sequels, they will be there.
Did you use Cable in it at all?
No, I didn't. But I did have an idea for Cable that we could use in the sequel potentially. Here's a spoiler. I would really love to use Winter Soldier, and I was going to use him in the first series, and it seemed I love him so much. I kind of took a step back and realized I was kind of shoehorning him in a little bit. I was like, I'm just putting him here because I love him. This would be better if it was Forge, and so I kind of reworked the whole thing, and now I have a very different idea of where Winter Soldier would be in the context of that world. So if we do sequels, you'll see him for sure.
The Metal Arm Bros, Cable and Winter Soldier.
I mean, I just call Winter Soldier the better Cable, but that's...
What's that?
The door's right there, Jake.
He loves Cable, so I joke that Winter Soldier is the better Cable.
I would love to write Bucky, like not just Winter Soldier, but like teenage Bucky when he was like this psycho sidekick teenager in World War II. I think that's super rad. I love what Brubaker did with him, because in the old stuff we just saw him as like the Robin, like just a happy-go-lucky kid killing Nazis. You never really think about the context of that. But then Brubaker made it more clear he was actually like this highly trained assassin, was like killing dudes left and right when Cap wasn't around, and I just love that whole idea, and I would love to do a story about him over there.
You see the Captain America White, they really presented Bucky as more of the happy-go-lucky child.
Right. Yeah, that's not what I want. I want to see that psycho kid.
I mean, yeah, that would be. It'd be kind of fun to see not so much mimic, but like in the same vein of like when Lemire did his Moon Knight run, where it was just a constant battle inside of his head for inside of Mark Spector's head.
Yeah, that was really fun. That's a great run. I thought that's one of the Moon Knight's a tough, like everyone apparently wants to write Moon Knight, I'm told, but the sales don't usually like, there's almost never like a huge hit. And so they don't just keep Moon Knight on the stands all the time because it doesn't always translate in sales. But there have been some killer runs on that book, and the Bendis one is one of my favorites. I really love how they treat it because I love seeing him legit psycho, like really scary and crazy, and like as crazy as Batman should be. You know, Batman should really be like,
he shouldn't be as together as he is.
Yeah, he's strangely in control for the things he's doing.
A complete sociopath.
Yeah, he should be pretty messed up. And that was honestly like, no one likes All-Star Batman and Robin, but I do. I like that book. Part of it is that's the only depiction of the Batman and Robin relationship that kind of makes sense, and how over the top hardcore Batman is. And to see him take in like this teenager, like what would inspire him to do that? Like he's totally not at that time in his career. He should still be just like balls to the wall, crazy and going hard at the corrupt cops. And like, why would he take in this kid? And what would that be like to be that kid? And this psycho takes you in and teaches you to do what he's doing. That was just so crazy. And that's how Frank Miller and Jim Lee depicted it in that series. And I thought it was great. I mean, it's the series has problems, but I thought it was like one of the truer depictions of that relationship that I've seen in the book. So the Bendis Moon Knight is a similar thing where you've got this guy who should be really crazy, and Marvel's been more free to portray Moon Knight that way. And I love how Bendis did it. I thought it really illustrated how crazy he is and how he's a good guy, but he's not. I just really liked it a lot.
Yeah. How many personalities? Like 4 personalities, I think, at this point.
Well, in that run, or like lately?
Just I know, like in the Lemire run, which I read and I thought was great. Like I was confused all the way through, and once you get to issue 5 and you finally realize what's going on, it's holy shit.
Yeah,
you know?
That was a great series too. Yeah, Moon Knight. There's been some really good stuff done with him. That would be a really fun character to get my hands on.
That was fun, but I know it's going to be a really fun run. Superman. That's going to be fun.
It's going to be really fun.
Superman Future State. That's going to be amazing.
Dude, yeah, Superman was my first comic book love. Like I saw that movie when I was super little. I mean, it came out the year I was born, so I ended up seeing it like on VHS or on TV probably, and just was immediately taken with it. And just the superhero that just inherently always does the right thing and is all about helping people, and it's not as complicated as it is these days. He was just this purely, virtuous superhero, and I just loved him so much. And as the years have gone on, I've always had that character in the back of my mind. I always wanted to write him. Now that I get to, I have very specific things that I want to do. I have a very he means a lot to me. He means a lot. He should mean a lot to America. I mean, that the truth, justice, American way thing. I still believe that, and not that the American part should define the character so much. He shouldn't be like a nationalist Superman. I mean, Red Sun was great and all, but we don't need a nationalist Superman, especially not right now. He was like America first. That's not what he is at all. It should be the other way. Like Superman should inspire what America is. Like America should be proud of its association with Superman and recognize what Superman in those stories means to the world and what America means to the world, or should. Superman, it means a lot to me. And I have stories I want to tell with him. There's statements I want to make with him. And I'm just incredibly excited to have my hands on that character. And I love the Christopher Reeve depiction. I love the way Grant Morrison wrote him, how you read him and he's just this aspirational character that makes you want to be more and to be better than you are. That feeling that you get from the best versions of him, like in the movie where he just walks on screen, just commands presence, and he just says these things like he has this godlike power, but the way he speaks to people is so gentle and compassionate. That feeling you get from that depiction, from the John Wayne's music while the title credits go whooshing overhead, and just that feeling of goodness. That's something that I really am trying to capture on every single page, even while these super badass images are happening. It's a dream come true for comic.
I mean, listening to him talk, you'd almost get a feel like he'd do good with his own Superman universe, kind of like Sean Gordon Murphy's doing.
Well, no comment on that, but I wouldn't say no.
I'd be interested.
Bendis is leaving Superman also.
Yeah. He's on Superman, right? Not Action.
Both.
Oh, he's on both.
Yeah, he's been doing both.
Action, or is he?
He's leaving both.
Oh.
Yeah, he's leading both in December.
So February we'll have a March.
Yep. So anyway. Yeah, very excited for Future State. So one of the Future State issues is the Future State is 2 issues, and we're also doing House of L, which is a look 1,000 years into the future, and you see the descendants of Superman, and it's really exciting. And for that one, they gave me a completely blank check. They're like, do whatever you want to do. If we want to see them in the context of a time of peace or time of war or whatever you want to do. And we have Scott Godlewski doing the art for this. I had an idea that I wanted to explore with the descendants and with a new threat that we had not seen in the comics before, and what those people would do. Scott is just crushing on art. Scott is one of the most dynamic artists I've worked with. Everything that he does just looks fluid and in motion, and just makes everything really exciting to read. It's just a beautiful artist. If you have not seen his work on Young Justice, I highly suggest you pick it up.
There will be a bunch of first appearances in these issues, clearly.
There will, yeah. It takes place roughly in the time of Legion of Superheroes. It's around that same time period, around the 31st century. So, yeah. There are no characters there's one character from Legion in that book. But otherwise, it's not a very Legion-heavy book. It's like the House of L has its own thing it's dealing with. But it does tie in. One really cool thing about the super books that we've done for Future State is they all kind of tie together. There are aspects that we've got Michael Conrad and Becky Cloonan writing, Midnighter and Wonder Woman, and there's aspects of that, and from Kara Zor-El Superwoman that Marguerite Bennett is doing, Miracle Man, Mr. Miracle, forgive me. There's pieces of these stories that I'm using in House of L. House of L is kind of like the culmination of all those stories. And so you'll see little nuggets from all those other stories kind of wrapped up in House of L. And from Superman Worlds at War as well, actually. That's the one that, if you've seen the covers circulating for Worlds of War, it's Superman it's Superman on War World as like a gladiator. And we're seeing all these very John Carter, Warlords of Mars kind of images of what that's going to be like. And there is a new race that is established in that book that we see depicted again in House of L, which is pretty cool.
Now, as far as so we see Superman with like chains and stuff on the War World one. Is that something that you came up with, or is that the artist?
Yeah. It's been a real collaboration. The design was done by Mikhail Hanin, who's drawing Worlds of War. You've probably seen his work on Batman and on Grayson before that. He's done a lot of work with Tom King. That dude is so good, man. I've never had any collaborator put so much care into the script. Like he's just crushing it. So yeah, he made up the design and did the covers as well. But now there's also a variant cover by Riccardo Federici, the guy who's doing Last God with me. And I didn't even know about it. Jack off just puts it online and didn't tell me about it. And I was like, you don't tell me anything. I didn't know you're doing this book. So anyway, yeah. So the cover for this variant cover shows this crazy, like Frank Frazetta, muscled out Superman fighting off aliens and like you see the Kingdom Come old school S like chained onto him with his cape, and he's just fighting off all these monsters, and it just looks incredible. Looks very, very Warlord of Mars. And that's very much the vibe of the book.
This one right here? Trying to find the image.
If you check out my Twitter, it's the pinned tweet.
Down
To the
right there. All right. Let's pop that up. That goes to CBR, of course. Where's the image at?
This is the preview.
Okay, then. All right. So
Don't worry about it. It's awesome. You can check it out.
Twitter for you real quick.
Mine, it's at Phillip, two L's, Phillip K. Johnson.
So you mentioned Last God, and so the last time we had you on, you were the source book was coming up,
Yeah.
and so are there any plans past the initial run that you have, or is this going to be a finite?
There are plans. We're still trying to figure all that out, actually. The let's see, this month, the Tales of Lost Children comes out, which is an interlude that comes out between issues 9 and 10. Is written by Dan Waters, a good friend of mine from across the pond, drawn by Steve Beach, a collaborator of mine on a webcomic I did years ago, this crazy, talented horror guy. And Dave Stewart on colors. And that comes out this month. And then we have issues 10, 11, and 12, and that's it for the first book of the Feldspar Chronicles. That's the Last God in its totality. But we definitely have plans for sequels. So we'll have to see how sales go and if readers expect more. But I would happily tell more stories in that world because we have done so much world building. It's insane. It would be a real pleasure to do 2 more arcs there.
Well, I'm not sure why it's not opening, but here, I think I can pull this away and then go back into here, go here, and screen share.
What other of the future state books have you guys looked interesting to you guys?
Well, from a retailer perspective, I think it's the 3 that they're offering for exclusive variants, which is this one, Wonder Woman, and the Dark Detective.
I just Derek Chu's who we rep. He's doing 2 covers, one for Harley, and not sure if they've announced the other one yet, so I don't.
Right on.
But no, I saw that the Nightwing cover looks awesome, like him standing on the Arkham gates. So crouched on the Arkham gates. Looking forward to that.
Very much reminds me of a Kingdom Come Superman with the black and red S. And,
right. Pretty Conan otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted that depiction of like the pulp hero, like the old like Kull the Conqueror and Conan and Warlord of Mars and all those old it's very much that kind of book. So we're stoked.
Yeah. He's yeah, they're in trouble.
Ricardo is such a talent, man. He's got this. He's a horror savant for one thing. Like his talent for making up horror creatures, just the concept designs for the horror things is so amazing. But he's also this huge fan of stuff like Conan, and everything has this huge Wagnerian look to it, just epic, larger than life fantasy. So he's great for superhero books, but he's also just as great for like fantasy and dark fantasy. And this Superman thing that we're doing is very much in between, all those camps.
Yeah, the worlds for sure. Just because you have 4 different stories going in there between.
Right.
So I'm a fan of anthology type books where something you can get multiples in. So that's what I'm highly looking forward to, just because it's going to feature so many characters in one book. Yeah,
it's gonna be a great one. The creative teams in that book is nuts. A lot of really good people. It's cool to see Becky Cloonan doing some writing as well. She and Michael Conrad. Everyone knows Becky Cloonan's work, but seeing her write is cool. And yeah, what I've seen of that series is super rad. So can't wait for people to see some of that. The John Kent Superman stuff is being done by Sean. God, I'm blanking on Sean Kelly, I think is that his name. He did this book called Bliss that's out now. And that book is being super well received, and he's doing John Kent and a Guardian book as well for this. Guardian of Metropolis, and he's doing great work too.
The Red X tease and the big promo image was kind of cool. So
it is.
That.
I know. I'm excited to see where that goes. I actually don't know about that one. Like, there's right now, I'm very much in the Superman like house, like Superman ecosystem over there, part of all these future state stories. But the Bat stuff, I'm not really privy to yet. So I'm really excited to see how those Bat books come out. But Dark Detective looks awesome. Of course, I'm excited for the new Batman as well. My friend Vita Ayala is doing Batgirls. There's tons of really great ones, but I'm very curious about Dark Detective.
So when when you kind of got into this and you think you signed with DC and you become an official DC writer and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to be privy to all the stuff that all the fans don't normally know about prior to, and then you get there and the only shit you know about is your shit. You still don't get to know about any of the other stuff.
I think they're trying to be mindful of leaks. There's been a lot of leaks. And so it's kind of like a political campaign where they're trying to nail that down a little bit and trying to keep people from spilling everything. So even within house, there are secrets. Yeah. Like it's, I mean, if there's something I need to know for a story, I can certainly ask and find out whatever I need to know, but it's not like a big water cooler situation where everyone's talking about stuff like that. It's, everyone's, yeah, I don't want to make it sound like everyone's super protective of all their stuff and not sharing it, but basically stuff is getting shared as people need to know it for their own stories, but there's not a whole lot of cross-pollination going on. Just that, because there's a lot of things coming out in this future state thing, especially, and coming out of that, that's all still very secret. And we want people to not have those stories spoiled.
So future state is obviously 5G. It's renamed. I kind of like the name of future state a little bit better than 5G. Makes me feel less like it's part of my cell phone.
Yeah.
So even I know what 5G was meant to, reference. It still just felt like my cell phone. Like, I should get good reception here.
DC Comics calls COVID. Yeah. So 5G, for those who don't know, 5G was supposed to be a complete restructuring of the entire line, like just starting over, and they were going to splinter off the timeline so that everything happens everything has happened in real time leading up to now. So that's like Wonder Woman becomes basically a World War II era character, and the Justice Society kind of spins out of that, and then later on Superman and Batman appear, and then a generation later from that they're still around, but now there's a new Superman and Batman, and everyone kind of has their place on the timeline, and that's how it was going to be from then on. Like, it was going to be just a very different scene. Super exciting, but also just an epically big swing that ended up being, like, when they restructured some things that ended up not happening the way it was originally envisioned. But there were so many great ideas that came out of that, and things that we wanted to affect the things that we wanted to impact the direction of a lot of the lines going forward. Future State is kind of the best version of that, in my opinion, where now we've got these still epic ideas happening that have led to extreme creativity in the house. Like, I've never seen people so energized as now, and including the editors too. Like, the editors are really our creative collaborators, and not just managers and pencil pushers. Like, they're actually really a part of the storytelling, and they want to believe in it, and they really do right now. Everyone's very invested in the stories that we're telling, and I've never been a part of such, like, just, I don't know, there's just so much sharing of ideas going on and positivity, and everyone's just really firing all cylinders right now because of Future State.
You say that, and that reminds me of something John Boy Myers said a couple around January or whatever. Is he missed the days where the editors were involved. They weren't just your boss; they were collaborators. They were guys that actually helped steer you in a direction of the story, as opposed to just trying to protect the brand, I guess, and their job. I think the view of what it was to some people. I have no idea. I'm not a writer or creator of any kind. I can't say if that's accurate or not. But
editing is an art, man. Like, I've definitely had editors that got too involved and too micromanagey, and you got the impression they were just kind of writing through you,
Yeah.
or wanted you to. Like they had very clear ideas for where they wanted the story to go and kind of push you in that direction. And that's the worst. It's the worst to have your strings pulled, but you also want the editors to be like when you have a good editor who has great creative instincts that can give you the best kind of feedback and not just lay down the law, but really give great feedback and kind of help you see things in a different light. That's the best. Like that's what you want. Somebody who is invested, who believes in what you're doing, who can help you tell the best version of your story without overstepping and making it their story and where you feel fettered. That sweet spot is what you want in my experience. I know there are writers who don't want that and just want to be left alone. And it's a different way of working. What's that?
So there are some that can do that though.
Oh yeah, there definitely are. And that can be great too. Like I've got other books going right now that are very much that way, where it's completely my story. But when I submit a story to be read, I really do want notes. Like I don't just want a yes man. It's like, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm busy as hell. Just, print it. I want to see what they actually think. And if we disagree, that's fine. And I definitely don't want to be a puppet. But I do want to hear real feedback. So having people that I have right now, where it's these people who really know the characters, know the brand, and care about them and love them, but are also letting me tell the story the way I want to, giving me feedback where I need it. That's ideal. I don't want to write in a cell by myself. And because it's so easy. I mean, no one can edit themselves. No one. Like they just, you can't have perspective on your own work. Sometimes when you see like a really famous writer who started off doing amazing things, you can see how their work kind of declines towards the end, in part, in my opinion, because they're not being edited anymore.
Yeah.
Like Alan Moore has spoken about that, or at some point he said, I really could have used some editing on some of this stuff. Where who's going to edit Alan? Who's going to tell Alan Moore to, what to do?
Not because he's high profile, but because I'm deathly afraid of that man.
Well, I mean, he wrote one of the best graphic novels of all time, if not the best, and and these other things. He's not just Watchmen; he's done all these amazing things. And sometimes these editors that you're working with are very young, and if it's your job to edit Alan Moore, and who's written more comics than you've read, and many of them are world-changing books, that's intimidating. And the same thing with people like Stephen King, I'm sure, and I don't know. I could see that as being a problem. And I don't ever want to be to that point where people are afraid to touch my stuff. Like I really want it to be, I need feedback. I really want to hear what people think. And very often people will give me ideas I hadn't considered. Or I'm way too close to the story, way too in it. And I start to see the events in the story as this is what happens, I start to see it as like the truth. Like this is what happened in the story because it's become so real to me. And then it's hard to imagine other possibilities. And so often I'll get really good feedback by somebody that reads it the first time because they're not as close to it as me. And right now these editors are great about that by giving me feedback without pushing me around. So it's been great.
I mean, so is there anything else that we can talk about coming up for you? Any settlements? Let's not get ourselves in trouble, but
No, I won't. There's an announcement coming out this week from the distinguished competition at Marvel that I am mad excited about. And I can't tell you about that yet, but it is coming. And it's, just keep your eye on the internet this week. And we'll hopefully talk about what's coming out of that very soon. But then there's also a big announcement coming out of DC also, following the events of Future State that I am over the moon to talk about also. So unfortunately I can't really spill the beans in either one of these announcements because I'd be robbing both houses of their opportunity to announce. But I've got so much I can say about both of them, and I intend to. Huh?
That whole Marvel NDA, I've had to sign one of those. And I'm pretty sure that if you do leak stuff, you like turn over the rights to your firstborn, your half of your soul, and your mother's house.
Right? So, yeah, Marvel is now Disney, and they don't mess around. That mouse is a scary dude. It's both of them are dream gigs that I've fantasized about writing forever, like covers up to my chin, thinking about stuff at night. Like I'm so freaking stoked to write this stuff. So yeah, as soon as we get a chance to talk about both of those books, I would love to come back on.
Definitely love to do an exclusive cover for one of your books, man. That'd be fun.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to. Books that are coming out soon or now, though. Last God is still on the stands monthly. We'll be up through issue 12. Let's see. Next month from DC, the first of the Tales of the Dark Multiverse issues comes out. Batman Hush, and that's me, and that's with Dexter Soy, artist from Red Hood. We get to see a Gotham where there's never been a Batman before, and suddenly one appears, like in modern day. Like there hasn't been one. Like we all know Gotham is a place where Batman's always been, but what if there hadn't been one up until now? It's kind of like a Wonderful Life situation, but way darker. And man, it's really exciting what we do with that book. Any kind of alternate reality thing is always really fun because you get to use all the characters everyone knows, but tell completely new stories with them, and that's what this is. So
with the Batman just appearing like in modern day, I mean, it just like nobody would take this dude seriously. Like nobody. There's no fear. There's no anything of this character, of this symbol.
That depends on what Gotham is set like, though.
Yeah, you'll have to see what happens. Just imagine all the things. Think of all the things that's happened in Gotham since Batman showed up. It's arguable that Batman kind of made Gotham what it is with all the costume crazies. Like Batman showed up as just a guy in a ski mask, and then it didn't really come together until he became like legit Batman. But after that, you start seeing other characters come up, like the Joker and Riddler and all these other larger than life super villains. What if none of that had ever happened? What if Ra's al Ghul's plans for Batman had actually come to fruition? What if the Court of Owls had always been around, but there's no Batman there? It's another thing. No Man's Land. when Gotham became its own thing and the government cut off Gotham and like disowned Gotham because it was such a mess over there, but there's no Batman to fix stuff. So go through all those events leading up till now. What's Gotham look like? And then Batman appears. That's what Tales of the Dark Multiverse Batman Hush is.
That'd be awesome. I'm looking forward
Thanks,
to
man. I'm stoked.
The first run of Tales of the Dark Multiverse were awesome. They were a lot of fun to read.
Yeah. No, I loved them. I really liked the Batman Azrael one. But yeah, all of them were really great. And this one, the swings are just as bigger for this one. So this series is going to be great. I know some of the creative teams on this one too. My buddy Steve Orlando that I'm co-writing another book with is doing one of them. Yeah. So pick those up.
Page size, like 48 page, 56 page ones.
Let me think. I believe mine was 48. Either 40 or 48. I think it was 48.
So at Marvel, let's exclude the title that is yet to be released. Mm-hmm. What would be the title for you to work on? What is your goal title at Marvel, other than Captain America?
The true answer is the one that's about to be announced. I mean, that's the straight up truth. But if that one's off the board, God. I mean, I know I said everyone wants to write Moon Knight, but I'm part of that problem too, man. I want to do Moon Knight. Moon Knight's crazy. And I want to do that book. Ghost Rider would be super rad. I think Ghost Rider is very undervalued. I think Ghost Rider would be awesome to do. I want to see a different take on Ghost Rider. I've got a very different idea in mind for that character that I would love to explore.
Visions, or would you more take on like the Johnny Blaze or Danny Ketch? Would you?
I would introduce a new version. Okay. I was really taken by Jason Aaron's take on it that shows all these Ghost Riders from different time periods and cultures.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. And for me, that just kicked open the door. And I would want to explore one of those guys. So I have a very clear idea that I want to do with Ghost Rider. So hopefully one day I'll get to. I would love to write a Psycho Bucky World War II story about that teenager that, yeah, I would love to see like a Winter Soldier / Bucky story where we, some kind of a time jumping thing where you see him modern day, but also back in the day. Love to do that. Cap for sure. God, so many. I would like to do the Hood. I think what's that?
Parker Robbins.
Yes. Did you guys ever read the Max series, the original The Hood thing that they did for him?
I read that after the New Avengers run, the Bendis
Yeah.
season, and yeah,
It was
that's a good story.
so good, man. It's like he's like the anti-Spider-Man. Where he's like instead of being this guy, just a normal kid with a heart of gold that falls into powers, he's this like small-time criminal who falls into some powers, and then you see how he escalates as a result. And he's still this guy that tries to do the right thing by his people, but he's a criminal. No, he's got his baby mama and his little kid and his mistress and his mom in the home that he's trying to look after all these people, but he's kind of a shitty person. And so you see like a very deeply flawed Spider-Man kind of getting his feet wet in this bigger world. It's great. And I'd love to see more of that version of the Hood. I love how complicated the Hood is and how he's just a self-made man in the world of superhero crime, you know?
Now, like DC has Black Label, but it's still fairly edited. Do you think we could ever see something like a Marvel Max line again, especially early Marvel Max? Like Alien?
Totally. I think so. I think we could. I think we should. I think we will. DC Black Label's been selling well. I mean, I don't know the future of Black Label given all the shakeup that happened, but it sells well. And that aside, the stories are great. You know, the Black Label's been really awesome. They let me do Lascon there, but they've also been doing these other things that are terrific. The Hill House line is great. All the Joker Harley things they've done. You know, it's just a really great place where you can do just a place to, you know, broaden the spectrum and give people a chance to do stuff that doesn't quite fit in the main line. So I think so. I think DC is a great place for that. And I think Marvel could very well have a place for that in the future as well.
Let's see, what else we got? So do you create your own stuff? Do you have anything else like just kind of hanging out in your bag of goodies that you're waiting to get a little bit higher and then release this stuff that you'd like to have a little more?
Yeah, right now they're keeping me hopping at DC and Marvel, but I do have Kill a Man coming out in this fall, either November or December. I'm not sure when the current schedule has it on the books, but Kill a Man is a MMA story about top MMA contenders, about LGBTQ identity. I'm co-writing it with my friend Steve Orlando, illustrated by Alec Morgan. It comes out from Aftershock Comics, and really stoked about that one. It comes out it's a big OGN. It comes out all at once this fall. And beyond that, I definitely have other ideas I want to do. They're kind of sitting and waiting right now. But I'm also doing a kids book actually, which sounds off-brand for me because I write all this dark crap. But I've got a story I'm writing for my son that I'm very excited about called Arlo and the Moon Dragon that we're putting together right now. I've got several other creator-owned ideas I would love to execute. I'm just waiting for the right moment where I can give it my all and find the right collaborators for them. But a couple of them are horror stories, like legit horror books that I really want to do. One of them is well, I guess I shouldn't. Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes. I have lots of things that I want to do. And when I find the right artist and get the right moment, and these other books are already out there, you'll be seeing those soon.
Last time we had you on, which was around April-ish, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was around May. Either way, you said one of your dream projects, like in all of everything, was a Constantine book.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you pitched anything to DC?
Honestly, I don't have time to think about it right now. Like there's so many other books coming that I would not be able to give it my best shot. But I love what Cy and Aaron have done on that book. And yeah, I have stories I want to tell there for certain. And when they bring, I know like right now that title is tentatively canceled, which I'm really sad about, but it's got to come back. And at some point they will do Hellblazer again.
I think though, at some point, because Constantine is such I guess almost a third tier character to some degree, you know, he's definitely a fringe character. I would be afraid that as you rise up in the ranks and you get too popular, they may not want to utilize you on something like that.
Fuck all that.
Yeah, I mean, you do something like Tom King does with like a Strange Adventures or Mr. Miracle. I mean, you can do a
Mini.
yeah. I mean, something that's really
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I can't speak for anyone at DC if they'd feel that way, but I think it's all about the character. And honestly, I don't know that he is a C-list character, and he's certainly not going to be forever. They're talking about doing another Keanu Reeves movie with him. I know it's super early, and in Hollywood, everything could fall apart at any given time. But just if we keep putting him out on TV and film and all that, and more people are seeing him and seeing how cool he is. I think he's going to be a bigger deal even than he is now. And even if he's not, dude, there's a story that I want to tell at DC more than anything right now is a story about the ventriloquist. And there's this, like, I have a whole idea for this book I want to do called entitled Dummy. That's all about the ventriloquist and Scarface. And that book would kick so much ass. And when I feel like my profile's in a place where it's a definite sell, I'm going to put it out there, and you're going to, that book is going to be so rad. And that's a character that nobody knows about really, except the Batman fans. But the potential is there to do something like the Joker film that recently came out, where it's like this kind of, this old school movie kind of take on it, where you see this just a crazy dude, in a setting like in this little dumpy apartment, but you see how crazy he is now. How he becomes what he is was just fascinating. And not everyone loved that movie, but I thought it was very well done. And there's a version of that for Dummy that I really want to do. So, I mean, whether they would let me do it or not, I don't see them going like, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, but you're just too popular right now. Like, I don't know. First of all, I'm not there yet. Hopefully that I can't still do cool books. But second, I think it's all about, I don't think they're going to say no to an opportunity to make a very obscure character really popular all of a sudden. I think they would welcome that. Hopefully we'll see that book. But yeah, if we get the right artist on that book, man, that becomes my priority. Like, as far as I know, it would not be creator owned. I know that, but the version I see of it in my head is a very gritty kind of creator owned kind of approach that would be a great fit for Black Label. So that's my hope.
A darker Freeze would be fun.
Yeah, like
with that darker tone that you like you very much be.
Yeah, I thought I really liked. There was one. I'm not sure if it was an annual or a one shot or what it was, but Scott Snyder did a take on Freeze that was really cool. Was it the animated series that made Freeze so complicated with Nora and all that? I want to say that Nora was introduced in the cartoon.
Yeah.
That made him so much more interesting. And Snyder did a version of that in which it turns out that was all bullshit, and that Nora was actually she was someone who had been frozen. I can't remember if it was someone that was frozen before he ever came around. I think it was somebody he was obsessed with, but never actually knew her. And that was this big revelation that Freeze is just crazier than he knew. Didn't realize that Nora was not actually his wife. He was just crazy obsessed with her. And it became this excuse for him doing this crazy shit he was doing. I love that take. And I
like Sean Gordon Murphy's take on Freeze as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not normally a DC reader because I don't really have the attachment to Batman. I think a lot of DC readers have that attachment to Batman that I don't have. But, I do like the Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
So they're so, I guess, mapped out that there's a lot to grab a hold of.
Yeah, so iconic. So many of them are crazy in such a specific way, whereas I just feel like they're so much easier to grasp. I mean, each one has such a clear theme, but they're also their dark craziness is such a great foil for Batman because he's just as crazy as them, or should be. I mean, there's a world in which Batman's ultimate nemesis is not Joker, it's Two-Face. I think Two-Face could be his absolute, super nemesis. And that's just never been portrayed that way. I mean, Joker is obviously a great villain too. And it makes sense that he would be Batman's opposite, not Two-Face. But the fact that he started out as this do-gooder and just took a push to make him what he is. I think I could see an arc in which we establish Two-Face as his real nemesis.
Now, as a writer, with getting onto a title, I mean, how much I know fans kind of really harp on continuity a lot. Is that something that when you're trying to do like your vision on something, do you go back and read certain points to try to fit it in a certain universe, or you just let me do my thing and hopefully it fits where it fits?
I do to educate myself. Yeah, I try to go back and read stuff so I know. So I'm not. I need to be aware of what's there before, so I don't just completely redo something or discredit something else that's happened. But that being said, when enough time passes, it's kind of an unwritten rule that you can do whatever. Let's see. When Tom King, first got a hold of Calendar Man, he made him this super powered freak that like is reborn every so often. And I mean, that's not at all what Calendar Man has ever been, but it's awesome. And nobody cared. It was, they're like, okay, cool. This is what Calendar Man is now.
I think that's one of the reasons Donny Cates has resonated so hard with fans, though, because he takes these obscure little references from issues 20 years ago and makes them relevant to what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Those things from when, we were kids, that's nostalgia for us. It's the things that were throwaways at one point, and now they mean something.
Yeah, totally. There's, without any spoilers, there's a couple of things I put in the Tales of Dark, well, a bunch of stuff actually, from Tales of Dark Multiverse Batman that I put in there that's names or characters that are, you've seen other places that hopefully will make the story more meaningful to you, little Easter eggs for the fans. But you shouldn't become beholden to that stuff either. Like, if you've read the origin of, like, to go back to my Superman story, if you've read the origin of Warworld, I kind of don't love it. And it was such a long time ago. There's a lot of, I mean, God, the origin of Lex Luthor as being evil is like Superman in high school. Like there was a chemistry experiment, a fire, and Superman blew it out and blew off Lex's hair, and that's why he's so pissed or something. That's canon. Like, are we supposed to be beholden to that? I would argue no.
I'm pretty bitter about not having hair, so I mean, I can understand.
Yeah, it's not so bad, right?
I'm fixing to become his arch nemesis at this point.
Nice.
His hair is just growing and flowing, and mine is going backwards down my back. So
yeah. Well, in Worlds of War, again, it's only a 2-issue thing, and I don't want to completely. There's not space to completely build out this entire mythology, but Warworld is not in that story is not like it was in the original version. And there's also a new origin that I have in mind for Warworlds. It's very much not the original. But you know what? That was a long time ago, and this one's way cooler, in my opinion. So there it is.
Also, it's another part of the multiverse, too. So
exactly. Thank you. Multiverse is the ultimate excuse to do whatever you want.
That's right. Also time.
And now in the shows, too, they're starting to embrace that. Like they've been doing all those things in the Crisis and all that they did in the TV shows. The multiverse thing is something that DC has always embraced that makes their thing just makes it work in ways that they don't have to constantly re-explain the old continuity that made the X-Men movies kind of suck for a while. Nothing made sense. The multiverse thing is the ultimate, trump card.
Whereas Marvel for a little while bastardized it. I mean, they just beat it into the ground.
Right.
Many universes and the realities that you couldn't tell what was what. And where's this guy from? Oh, he's from Earth 9275.
I mean, the MC2 universe was my favorite.
Juggy.
Nice.
Well, man, we are. I think we are about out of time. This has been a fun, man. We should really do this more often.
Anytime, man. It's always fun to see you guys.
For the fans, I like getting on and talking with you. So I like hearing all the stuff writers think about, because it's far
thanks,
more
man,
than anything that goes on up here. So
nice. Well, it's always cool to get the retailer's perspective too, and hear as fans what you guys are into, and just any kind of questions you have. So let's definitely do this again. Big news coming. I would love to come on again after that's all out there.
No, that just tell Dan and you're on. Tell Dan we'll do a day and we'll talk about it.
Awesome, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy. We'll see you soon.
All right. Good to see you guys.
Have a good day.
You too, man. Bye.
It is time for the sponsors. But first, let's talk about this. The recount number 1, Comic-Con exclusive. Exclusive. You're not going to find it in any other retailer. We don't have partners. Maybe someday, but not today. It's not that we have to work alone. It's just, get it. There's only 250 of them. Who are we gonna?
They're almost gone.
Yeah,
they are almost.
Plus, if you buy that, you get entered a chance to win the original art, 11x17 ink wash from the ink wash master. Mm-hmm. At one point, he was the master of pencils. Now he's the master of ink wash. The guy's just going to be like the master at the end of it all, I think.
Yeah, you complain about not having hair, but it does this whenever you put a mask and a hat on. It's just, yeah. So.
And you complain about that, but wait till you don't have it.
Okay. Oh, we have masks. We have the Comic-Con line mask. We have the T-shirt he's wearing. The workout sweat wicking one, the regular.
It's also really cozy. It's nice and soft on the skin.
Goes on good underneath the flannel. We have hoodies, hats, and the Mike Mayhew G.I. Joe 275. Baroness cover, exclusive, signed and remarked by Mike. It's like the headshot remark XOXO with the B there, like Baroness was signing it for you. So check that out on the website, comicconline.com, 2 C's in the middle.
That's right. Also, go visit these guys.
Comic-Con Line is brought to you by the following sponsors. OasisComics.com, the home for J-Lee exclusive variants. ScottsCollectibles.co.uk, home for Alan Qua, Kel New, and many of the industry's top creators. ClanMcDonaldComics.com, the official CBCS facilitator for Comic-Con Line. AlphaOmegaCertification.com, the official CGC facilitator of Comic-Con Line. ArtGermCollectibles.com, the only place to find exclusives for Artgerm, DCWJ, Kunkka, and Ejikure. JJ'sComicArt.com, the home for all things Doug Mankey and some amazing original art deals.